Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think we'll start the panel. Thank you all for being here. We'll be talking about sustainability standards for industry. Today's panel discussion will look at sustainability challenges and how they are defining lives, corporate strategies, government policy, and economies. And apparently there seems to be positive outcomes in developing new markets and offering new business opportunities. So we are here in Abu Dhabi, and I think the focus is primarily here. So we'd like to look at what are the most important global business opportunities rising out of sustainability challenges in Abu Dhabi, and how can regulators and industry develop standards that enable innovation? And also, how is sustainability part of corporate leadership and the broader corporate values? And I think in the beginning, we're going to give each guest speaker about 5 minutes or so to talk about his or her role in driving this sustainability vision and aspiration. So we can start with the Deputy Secretary General from the Environment Agency, Dr. Jabir Al-Jabri. You have the floor.
شكراً. عندي 5 دقائق بس إن شاء الله أحاول أغطي فيها موضوع المعايير الاستدامة في مجال الصناعي. طبعاً مثل ما يعرف الجميع أن الحكومة بدأت بتطوير خططها وبرامجها للعام 2030 من خلال إطلاق أول رؤية اللي هي الرؤية الاقتصادية 2030، واللي أدركت من خلالها حكومة أبو ظبي أن النمو الاقتصادي غير مستدام على المديين المتوسط والطويل إذا لم يتم مراقبته وضبطه. ومن هذا المنطلق تم تكليف هيئة البيئة بالتنسيق مع الأطراف المعنية للعمل على تطوير رؤية أبو ظبي البيئية 2030، واللي تهدف أساساً إلى تحقيق النمو الاقتصادي بحيث يكون اقتصاد يتميز بأنه أخضر ومستدام. طبعاً في الماضي وغالباً كان هالمفهوم موجود أن موضوع الاستدامة البيئية موضوع ذو تكلفة زائدة أو عبء مالي على أصحاب الأعمال، لكن هذه النظرة بدأت بالتغيير وبالتغير مع الوقت، خاصة أن موضوع الاستدامة البيئية أصبح أحد المعايير الرئيسية في التنافسية، والذي يساعد أساساً إلى تخفيض الاستهلاك، الحد من التلوث، والمساهمة بشكل كبير في موضوع تحقيق التنمية أو النمو الاقتصادي الأخضر. طبعاً رؤية أبو ظبي البيئية لعام 2030 انطلقت من تقييم حالة البيئة في إمارة أبو ظبي، واللي نتج عنها أن نقدر نقول بشكل عام أن بيئة إمارة أبو ظبي جيدة جداً، لكنها تواجه ضغوطات متزايدة، وهذه الضغوطات تأتي لاستهلاك جميع القطاعات للموارد، مما ينتج عنها إنتاج الانبعاثات والنفايات. طبعاً هذا الاستهلاك العالي لا يتأثر به الجمهور أو الشركات العاملة، لكن تحس فيه أكثر للحكومة لأنها يتوفر الدعم بشكل عام. من أهم رسائل رؤية البيئة 2030 احنا ركزنا فيها لأن بيئتنا ما بتتمكن من أن تواكب النمو الاقتصادي يعني زيادة عدد السكان والتنوع الصناعي والاقتصادي إذا لم يتم معالجة الأمور بشكل مختلف، والاختلاف هذا الحمد لله قدرنا نغطيه في رؤية أبو ظبي 2030. والرسالة الثانية المهمة أنه إذا سمحنا باستمرار التدهور البيئي سوف ينعكس سلباً على النمو الاقتصادي من خلال قضايا يمكن نعيشها اليوم على مستوى العالم، هي زيادة انتشار الأمراض، انخفاض السياحة، تكاليف الباهظة في معالجة الآثار الملوثات البيئية، بالإضافة لأعباء وتزايدها على الحكومة. طبعاً الحكومة الحمد لله التجأت إلى موضوع اللي هو فك الارتباط. فك الارتباط موضوع مهم جداً، اللي هو فك الارتباط ما بين النمو الاقتصادي وما بين استهلاك الموارد وإنتاج الملوثات وإنتاج النفايات من جهة أخرى. طبعاً الحكومة في أمثلة كثيرة، من أهم الأمثلة واللي أقربها اللي هي فك الارتباط ما بين توليد الكهرباء وتوليد الانبعاثات من خلال استخدام مصادر طاقة مختلفة، الطاقة المتجددة والطاقة النووية. طبعاً نستنتج من هذا كله أن تخفيض استهلاكنا للموارد، تقليل انبعاثنا للملوثات والحد من النفايات يساعدنا كثير في أن ندخل في موضوع التنافسية ويساعدنا في تعزيز النمو الاقتصادي. طبعاً ما باخذ من وقت غيري، أعتقد خلصت.
Thank you, Jawad. The next guest speaker is Director General of Abu Dhabi Industrial Development Bureau, Ayman Makawi. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'll take this opportunity, first of all, to give a brief introduction about the Bureau, the Industrial Development Bureau, which is a relatively new entity formed under royal decree from His Highness the President in November 2013. And it is under the auspices of the Department of Economic Development, DED. We are basically the main regulators for the industrial sector on behalf of the government. We oversee implementation of the industrial strategy of Abu Dhabi in accordance with the 2030 economic vision and generally in the 2030 Abu Dhabi vision. What we do as well is detail and execute this industrial strategy and act as a regulator, organizer for the sector altogether, the lands allocations, the environmental issues and the health and safety issues, which relates to our discussion today. We also have a quality aspect that has been introduced to ensure with the appropriate parties, QCC of course being the main stakeholder here, that specifications and standards in the industrial sector are being met and achieved. We agreed to have this discussion not too dry and try to relate it to the audience and to the public generally. So I'll try to do that as we speak. Sustainability has always been on top of the agenda of the government in general, and it forms part of the vision as we spoke. Therefore, our policy in IDB relates very much to that, having strategic objectives and having assigned key performance indicators and targets to achieve this in our implementation programs. Attaining sustainability requires a regulatory and a collaborative approach. And here we have our day-to-day licensing activity, because we are the party that issues industrial licenses for all manufacturing and plants in existence. We also oversee the main developers like Zones Corp and KeyZ and ensure that they're working according to the plan and according to the strategy. So health, safety, and environment standards are very important in our work. And as I said, part of our licensing approach entails a questionnaire, an environmental questionnaire, whether it's for a new industry or for an existing factory that would like to expand or change anything on the ground. We also have zoning of industries, meaning that we have for certain, for petrochemicals example, we would go for the western region where we have the oil and gas facilities there. A textile or perhaps food stuff would not be in the same location. And this is what we try to ensure, the compatibility and the nature of the proposed activity with the investor, with that environment that he intends to build in. So once we get the application and very close liaison with the environmental agency in Abu Dhabi, by the way, we have signed yet another memorandum of understanding recently with the environmental agency, and they're one of our main stakeholders in the first tier. So on their behalf, we are the authority for the industrial sector in anything relating to health, environment, and safety. We ensure that the applicant adheres to the department's environmental standards. That's number one. Number two, we use clean technology in the process and to incorporate these green technologies in the work being done. We also ensure that optimizing of utilities, such as gas or electricity or water, also to ensure reuse and recycling and reprocessing. So although these points, particularly the adherence and the clean technology bit are not mandatory, but we are in consultations with all the investors and we try to educate the market. We have a new section that is an investors consultancy or advisory unit, so as to help them not just in managerial or in processing their requirements, but also to give them guidance in all other aspects, including the environment and the sustainability. And I think this is my 5 minutes. Yeah.
No, fantastic. Thank you very much. We can move on to the Executive Director, Conformity Scheme Sector at the Abu Dhabi Quality and Conformity Council, Abdullah Hassan Al-Maini. Tafadhal.
Thank you, Mohammed. I hope by now we know that Abu Dhabi Quality and Conformity Council is the body responsible to develop a quality infrastructure here in Abu Dhabi. And I hope that yesterday during the presentation of Dr. Lai, we have seen the positive impact of developing a quality infrastructure to the economy. So we have seen how the development of the quality infrastructure helped Singapore to develop its economy and to create sustainable industries and economy. And this is basically what we're doing here in QCC. Of course, that's in collaboration with regulators, with industry, private sector, the industrial sector, and all of that. And we can help the we can help the industry to create sustainable industries and economy through different elements of the quality infrastructure. For example, through the standard and harmonizing Abu Dhabi's specifications and requirement with international standards, we're basically helping the local industries to have new markets and to be able to export their local products to new markets. And that, of course, will help the local industries be sustainable and more sustainable. Another element or another initiative that QCC has been working at is the certification services of QCC. We have introduced the Abu Dhabi Trust Mark in 2012, and there are different applications of the Trust Mark. Basically, the basic application is to ensure the safety of products, of consumer products and others. We have also introduced the Abu Dhabi Trust Mark for environmental performance, which basically recognizes and identifies higher quality products. And we're trying to create or help the Abu Dhabi industry to improve the quality of products and services available in Abu Dhabi so that the local products can be associated with quality brand, and that of course will have positive impact in creating new markets and associate their brand with quality. And even in certification services, it's not only product certification, we have also started working on personnel certification. So basically the services offered by let's say the blue collars workers will be improved and enhance the quality of the overall services offered as well. And of course, there are so many challenges we have been facing, whether to promote the trust mark or to promote the personnel certification that we have been working at. A different line of businesses that we have been working at is the testing services. Abu Dhabi, well, QCC through the collaboration and partnership with Intertech, which is basically one of the world-class testing and certification services or organization available in the world. Partnering with them has helped us to enhance the testing capabilities to make it available here in Abu Dhabi, which will, of course, help the industry and the local industry to be more innovative when they introduce new lines of products and all of that. Not only that, having testing capabilities within the Emirate of Abu Dhabi will help the industry in terms of time to market. So basically, instead of sending their products overseas for testing, now they can test it locally, which basically give them the advantage of time to market, lower costs for testing, lesser downtime, and all of that, the advantages that come with the testing capabilities. Finally, I want to touch upon the initiative of Emirates Meteorology Institute, which was launched yesterday. Having that capabilities within the Emirate of Abu Dhabi will, of course, be beneficial to the local industries to ensure the accuracy and to ensure the accuracy and durability of the products and the equipment used within the industry and even within the regulators. So developing all the elements of the quality infrastructure will, in one way or another, it will help the industry to be more sustainable, to have new markets to explore and to export local products to new markets.
Thank you very much. And we have from the UK, the head of advisory services at Accountability, Mylène Hoog. You have the floor.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So I will start by briefly introducing you to accountability, just to put a little bit into context the trends that we see in the area of sustainability, but also sustainability standards. So Accountability is a think tank and advisory organization that is truly global, really. And for the past 20 years, we've been focusing on mainstreaming sustainability into businesses' thinking and day-to-day practice. So we've been doing that by supporting organizations across sectors, across the industries, and we help them with the challenges that they have in sustainability issues in environment, social, governance, ethical areas. Now, to deliver practical solutions, we have under one roof 3 different elements. We have our own sustainable standards, we do research, and then advisory services. So to talk about standards and sustainability standards, so it's really the core of who we are. So 20 years ago, we started with the standards because we understood the importance for companies to have some principles, some guidelines on how to be as accountable, sustainable as possible, and to be recognized globally in the sustainability scene. We have 3 standards. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but they're around stakeholder engagement, assurance, but also the strategy side. But what we see today globally is really that that standards are very important. They're hugely important, and it is a great guidelines for company. You need to have standards. And the trends today is, first of all, that there is a proliferation of standards. You have local standards, regional ones, you have the global ones, and I think it's great. Perhaps eventually there will be a consolidation among all those standards. The second trend we see is that more and more are industry specific. And again, it is very important because you do have sustainability issues that are industry specific. Also, not like audits, you see that the standards now are looking forward instead of backwards. Instead of companies thinking, okay, what have we been doing for the past year, and assessing what we've been doing. Standards also help you really improve your practices and looking forward, which I think is a very positive thing to do. And today, more importantly, we see a shift from compliance to those standards to the integration of sustainability into the core of the business. So, the idea is really making sustainability part of the DNA of the company and of the thinking and of the day-to-day practice. So again, it's very easy to say. It is a huge challenge, it's a huge task, but we believe that it's achievable. It is achievable with an integrated model. So I'm going to give you an example of model, just to try to be as specific, concrete as possible. We thought about a model that gathers 4 different elements and key elements. You have strategy, processes, systems, and of course, people. So strategy to start with, companies need to have a sustainability agenda. And it sounds very easy, but actually it is not. You cannot cover all the sustainability issues ever. And there is a concept that is becoming, that used to be quite unpopular, but now it's becoming again quite unpopular over the past few months, called materiality. And I'm not talking about financial materiality or legal materiality, I'm talking about sustainability materiality. So what is it? It is the identification and prioritization of sustainability issues. So taking into account, really, the effect that each sustainability issue has on the organization and on each stakeholder. So, and you have the sustainability materiality matrix as well, that I think could be quite helpful. So basically, you choose the issues that are the most important for the organization and all the stakeholders, but also the issues that present the most risks. Because again, the impact on a company can be quite huge. So that's the strategy part. Processes. In order to implement the strategy, you need to have processes. And we can think about a set of policies and procedures and different examples. For example, reporting. You have like a cycle for your sustainability report. You need to think about the content, about the structure, about how throughout the year you're going to work on it. So these examples of the processes linked to sustainability. Systems, tools, very important. Now we're talking about integration. So we're talking about integrating sustainability issues into the systems of the company. And one potential way of doing that is by simply using the existing tools of the company. So for example, your risk register or your value chain model and add those sustainability issues. Fine, all the other elements would be very financial focused, but you have to think that sustainability issues, even if you cannot put a number on it, the impact can be huge and the risk can be huge as well. So adding those elements can be quite important for the company as a whole to really have it as a target. And finally, people, because of course you need to have people to implement the strategy, you need to have people to manage the systems and processes, but also what I've seen is that you have companies that are very advanced, they have a big corporate responsibility team, experts, and they're doing a great job, and then you have other companies, even quite big, but they haven't really professionalized the function, which I think nowadays it is a necessity. At the same time, they cannot work on their own. They have to work with other departments. They have to work with the supply chain department, with the human resources, with also marketing and communication. It has to be like a global effort, but they have to be the one leading it. And of course, you need to have a senior management team that is supporting the initiative, because I believe that without that, it can be very difficult. So yeah, so in short, I believe that the integration of sustainability into the business and the practices enables the company to do good, but to do well at the same time. And I think it's very important. Yes, and to finish, just a couple of more trends in the area of sustainability. I talked briefly about reporting. Well, reporting is key. Nowadays, we see that actually many companies do want to talk about their sustainability efforts, but they don't necessarily do it externally, perhaps in the way that they could. If you go on websites, as simple as that, you will see that many times there is no publication, so you don't really see the information. And I think today is quite critical. And the step after that is what we call an integrated report, which is having usually you have your annual report and perhaps your sustainability report is to having both in one. So that is the new trend as well. Again, not easy to do, but it really shows the commitment of the company in sustainability. Environmental issues are still key in those reports, again, very important, but you see also a rise into social issues. For example, you have to take care of the employees, and in the supply chain, in factories, here and there, you have to think about very specific topics. For example, the minimum wage, about health and safety, about promotions. So you have all those social elements that's very key. Taking care of your community, where you are. People say that companies have a responsibility in their community. They do, and I think there is a lot you can do there. Another trend, stakeholders. Engaging stakeholders, very important. We used to engage shareholders. Now we have to engage stakeholders. And when I say stakeholders, we're talking about your customers, we talk about your clients, thinking about the community, but also your employees. And employees are really key in the sense that you need to be an attractive company for your employees, you need to attract talent, you need to retain talent, and there is so much that they can do. And they're very dynamic and motivating force behind. And the last trend, we see that there are more and more companies becoming quite sophisticated in the sustainability area, and you have other companies that are trying to catch up. But there is a gap that is actually there, and the degree of sophistication is different. But I do feel that the importance. Companies do realize the importance of having sustainability as a key agenda. But in order to do that, I do believe that senior management team have to support those efforts. Otherwise, it's difficult.
Thank you, Milan. Thank you very much for that insight. And our fifth guest speaker, the Vice President, Building Services from Intertech from the USA, John Runkel.
Thank you, Mohammed. Your Excellencies, I very much appreciate the opportunity to be on this panel. Distinguished, very intelligent folks, most importantly, passionate folks about sustainability, about the betterment of the society, about the goals of 2030, and achieving results. I come from the building envelope side, the physical structures, dwellings, workplaces, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about the sustainability standards in the United States, some of the successes and failures that we've had. And I think it's important to be honest about what the past is. I see a lot of similarities with some of the efforts here, and we'll talk about some of the opportunities and some of the ways that we can take advantage of some of those opportunities. So in the States, LEED is the dominant sustainability standard for building envelopes, for buildings in general, and the problem is there was a departure from the perception of quality. And what I mean by that is the end target was a certificate. That was the goal, certification. But for the consumer, that wasn't the goal. The goal was value. It was an economic value. It was a quality value. It was performance. And when there's a deviation from that performance, there was a loss in consumer confidence. And LEED did a lot of wonderful things. It kicked off energy modeling. It kicked off professions of mine such as commissioning and consulting, high performance materials, sustainable, very high valued, and it was a wonderful catalyst for those things. But unfortunately, sometimes there was competing interest. And it's important to note that what may be good for one category may not be good for another. For example, perhaps opening a window is good for natural ventilation. It may be bad for indoor air quality. It may be bad for energy usage. And so there's certain things that you have to balance, and you have to look at things holistically and step back and stay focused on performance. And unfortunately, sometimes some of the highest rated buildings were some of the poorest performing buildings. And so there was concern over what the system meant. There's a need for functionality. And I think circling back to the economic drivers, there was whole industries, technical industries, industries that involved high science that were born out of this sustainability and out of LEED, and they continue to thrive today. And I think you'll see as Estidima and local sustainability standards for buildings take footing and root, you'll see the same growth from those industries that are highly technical locally. And I think you'll be able to attract more corporate talent. To some of the points from our previous panelists, large companies want to join forces with nations and areas that support sustainability, that support savings in energy and water, that can contribute to their company targets. We heard in previous sessions, the gentleman Oliver from Coca-Cola, that they have significant initiatives to save energy and water. And if they have the local country support for those initiatives, it makes it that much more desirable to have offices here and corporate headquarters here. So where do we go in the future? How do we take advantage of these things? We need a good foundation of regulation, of standardization, and we need to acknowledge some of the failures in the past. We need to be willing for change, and sometimes change is hard. We're all passionate. We believe in our ideas, and sometimes the ideas can be improved upon. We need to listen to peers. We need to take a step back and make what are common practices and positive experiences more available, more palatable, and more successful on the local level. This sustainability can be a pillar of the 2030 goals, but it takes all of our efforts to get there. We need to be more stringent. Sustainability is really code plus. We do have some goals locally to become code compliant, probably first, and sustainability or code plus as the next step. However, having said that, I think it's important that we don't lose track of the long-term projects for the sake of the short-term projects. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Great. Apparently, we're already running out of time, but I think we'll spend the next 20 minutes or so just having discussing some of the issues that you've raised here between us. So we can start on actually learning from experiences, appreciating failures, and so can we look at the model that Abu Dhabi is currently following? To my understanding, Abu Dhabi went out and looked at different models across the world and perhaps decided on one, I think the Singaporean model. So looking into that, why was that picked? You know, are we just replicating a foreign model? You know, or are we localizing it to fit the climate and the environment here? And also with policy as well. Why is this really important? Why did we begin looking into sustainability? What are the expected benefits?
شكرا على السؤال، بس أنا ممكن أغطيه من ناحية من الناحية البيئية أكثر من الناحية الصناعية والاقتصادية. كثير من المودلز يعني أخذتها حكومة أبو ظبي كأمثلة أو كتجارب ممكن تستفيد منها حكومة أبو ظبي.
نعم صحيح.
كثير من الأمثلة راجعتها حكومة أبو ظبي للاستفادة منها يعني في إعداد وتطوير سياساتها واستراتيجياتها ل 2030. في المجال البيئي يعني ممكن نشوف من أسبوعين مثلا الاتحاد الأوروبي أصدر سياسة واضحة لكبرى الشركات الأوروبية أنها تتضمن من ضمن تقاريرها السنوية بيانات عن تأثيراتها البيئية والاجتماعية والإنسانية. هذه أحدث السياسات على المستوى العالمي. احنا في أبو ظبي عندنا مبادرة مثل مبادرة مجموعة أبو ظبي للاستدامة. المجموعة تضم القطاع العام والخاص، مجموعة يعني توفر المنصة لتبادل الأفكار بين القطاعين، مجموعة تعطي فرصة للقطاعين الحكومي والخاص أنه يبدأ يبرز تقاريره وبياناته على المستوى الدولي ويشارك فيها المجتمع ويغطي فيها جميع الأمور لها علاقة بالبيئة والاقتصاد والصناعة والأمور الاجتماعية والإنسانية. طبعاً الاتحاد الأوروبي أقرب مثال في موضوع كيف استفاد من كيف يواكب أو يوجد الاتزان بين الأمور البيئية والأمور الصناعية والاقتصادية نحو تحقيقه للنمو الاقتصادي الأخضر. طبعاً أصدر كثير من القرارات والمبادرات اللي من ضمنها تبادل الكربون. موضوع تقليل الانبعاثات من المركبات. وصلنا اليوم نتكلم على مواصفات الاتحاد الأوروبي مو بأربعة يمكن ثلاثة. تكلم على موضوع الإضافة بعض المعايير للمواد الاستهلاكية في المنزلية. طبعا احنا في إمارة أبو ظبي وحكومة أبو ظبي كثير من المبادرات هذه بدينا فيها من خلال كثير من الجهات الحكومية، وفي المجال البيئي نحاول نوجد المبادرات اللي تخدم في تقليل استهلاك الموارد مثل ما ذكرت، تقليل الانبعاثات والحد من النفايات. طبعا عندنا آليتين رئيسية تبع اتفاقية تغير المناخ، اتفاقية تطبقها دولة الإمارات اللي هي آلية التنمية النظيفة. اليوم عندنا تقريبا 25 مشروع يطبق آلية التنمية النظيفة تحت اتفاقية تغير المناخ. هذه الآلية تعطيك فرصة أنك تبدأ تدخل أفضل التقنيات وأنظفها وفيها استدامة. منها الهدف الرئيسي لتقليل انبعاثات الكربون، لكن بعد لها أهداف تحتويها اللي هي موضوع حماية البيئة واستدامة الأعمال.
Abdullah, if you'd like to say something on the current model.
Yeah, well, I think you're correct. Abu Dhabi has looked at different models, and then the government has seen that the Singaporean model could be something that we can actually adopt, not purely adopt it as replicating it here, but take what is good for us and work on the others. And that's what we have actually been doing. Singaporean, as we've seen yesterday, that it tend to be a successful model, driving from a single source economy to a diversified, sustainable economy. And that's what we have done in Abu Dhabi. Now, when it comes to QCC, the thing that we have learned from, from Singapore and other countries is the way that we develop our services and standards, for example. To develop the standards within QCC, we have formed working groups. The members of the working groups consist of members from the private sector, from the public sector, expert, international expert, or local expert. All of them, they work together. Of course, they study international standards and then customize it according to local needs. And eventually a standard is being suggested to our federal counterpart, Emirates Authority for Standardization and Metrology for endorsement. And the same thing is being done even for personnel certification. We have, in the past year, we have developed 54 standards for 24 different occupations. And of course, the standards were actually developed with the industry. The other option we had is to adopt the British standard or the Australian standard. It wouldn't have worked. If we have done that, it wouldn't work. The challenges we're facing right now is basically to get the buy-in from the consumer, and in some cases from the industry itself. They see the value, but because in UAE and in this part of the world, consumers are still price driven, they are price sensitive. Quality probably is not part of their decision-making criteria when it comes to buying a product or asking for service. And that's something that we're trying, of course, we're trying to change, and we're trying to hope that consumer will take quality into account when making their decisions.
Great. So I assume that many of us here don't need convincing over the virtues of sustainability. But it seems there is still a disconnect or a gap between applying the regulations and where the businesses on the other end, industries, firstly would understand the benefits in integrating the sustainability principles. How can we narrow that gap? How can we convince them that this is important to them, important to their businesses, important to them perhaps in the profit sense, making more profits or cutting down costs?
I'll take this one, thank you. I'd just like to start with that, dwelling on what Ms. Milan here has spoken about. Now we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, and this is all about integration. It's about sustaining the existing industries and introducing new technology and forms of new energy, like renewables, and also marketing. So it's integrating the three aspects there. And sustainability, as we all know, is about the success across the three pillars: people, planet, and profit. Once you have that, or the three equations, the three elements of the equation working out, this provides a sustainable growing business. A recent CEO survey conducted by Pricewaterhouse indicated that new strategies are needed to create growth. This came after the economic crisis, the worst in the 75 years that passed, and hence it showed that the top-down approach towards sustainability was key. Recently, again, there was a launch on the internet about sustainable living plan. Just 2 hours after launching this by the company, 2 million people had commented on the plan using Twitter. So consumers are now using the internet to make their opinions known and expectations known. There is a tremendous opportunity for the business to fulfill the consumer expectations. Now, we have to take into account the employees' well-being. Again, this was mentioned just a while ago. Working in a proper environment where they can actually feel that their well-being is maintained will actually have a positive thinking in the long term and will create a brand for that company that the workers are working in about that there is a care for business, care for employees, and hence stakeholders, enabling them to for a long-term existence. About your point regarding the gap between the policy sustainable initiatives and the implementation of standards, how can we narrow that? In Abu Dhabi, for example, there is no regulatory framework so far about sustainability in the industrial operations and activity. However, we have voluntary initiatives and actions by few responsible industrialists who are taking this on board, and IDB are encouraging them towards that trend. There is an Abu Dhabi Sustainability Group in the Environmental Agency working towards the mission to promote sustainability management. And we also have, in the United States, as an example, the Environmental Protection Agency stated that greening has become mainstream. Historical barriers becoming more sustainable, like higher costs and low consumer demands. So we have organic products sale growing by 20% annually. We have green product sales expected to double over the next couple of years. And therefore, introducing policy on sustainable initiatives and standards implementing can be narrowed by greater public-private partnership, participation, and incentive schemes to be introduced to help in this narrowing of the gap. Yeah.
Great. Perhaps we can get, yes, please, go ahead, John. And John, also on, we've got these bodies that sort of oversee and try to implement and push for these principles, but how effective are they? And you've got the, in the US and the UK, you've got more experience, and so how have these other stakeholders or bodies overseeing the implementation of these principles been effective in enforcing or somehow motivating industries to take on this integration?
Thank you, good question. I think when you talk about enforceability or just general public acceptance, appreciation, sustainability is tough because it's somewhat subjective. So I think the more we can trend toward objectivity, which in the sustainability and standard size usually means testing, right? You have a benchmark, you have a performance, you have a measurement. And so we have an opportunity, particularly in the UAE, to blend standards from around the world to make a hybrid standard. And I think ultimately what we'll find with sustainability is because it crosses many different disciplines, that we're going to take technologies from food and drugs, from building envelopes, from chemicals, and blend those technologies to come up with better testing. Maybe a good example of that is duration. So sustainability inherently has a time factor to it. So as an industry, we need to do better at simulating time and the effects of time. We have dynamic materials. We have dynamic properties that we're trying to measure. And so we have to pull together and be innovative. And I think when you do that, when we get closer to the natural environment, we're going to see that industry appreciation. We're going to see that consumer response that we desire.
Great. Yes, please.
What I would like to add, and I talked about it a little bit, is that when I work with some of the companies who've been working with us, what very often they ask me is, okay, we'd like to build a business case internally, because we feel that sometimes internally we don't really have the support to actually implement on those standards internally, and we don't really know how to make sure that the rest of the company follows us, and make sure that the senior management team follows us as well. And when you think about business case, you think about all the benefits that the companies will get from showing that they are sustainable and from integrating sustainability. So we talked a little bit about it. I mean, first of all, very simple. It's about increasing. It's about growth. It's about increasing revenue. It's about increasing business opportunities. If you are a supplier that is able to show that you are ethical, your clients will work with you for the long term. So you need to make some investments. So you need to really be very thorough and implement the changes. Same thing with the customers. I mean, it's been shown that for two projects of the same type of prices and qualities, customers will choose the product that has been produced by the company who is the most sustainable and who basically communicates the best as well. Then it facilitates innovation. We talked about environment a little bit earlier, and it is true that if we take the example of renewable energy, if you think about solar energy, it needs a lot of innovation, but it can reduce costs eventually as well. And I'm not only talking about the long term. There are a lot of benefits you can get for the short or medium term as well. It enhances your reputation, and then it has great benefits overall, I would say, from your stakeholders and at all points. And I said before, it attracts talent, which is very, very key as well. But more than that, also it helps reduce risks. So yes, it's one thing to have standards. It's another thing to implement it. But and you do need to, if you want to choose the sustainability standards you're going to follow, you do need to adapt, I would say, to your own priorities and to your own challenges. But it is definitely worth doing it and dedicating some resources, from the start. And so resources don't need to be, huge, really. I mean, it is a step-by-step process. There is no expectations from companies to tick all boxes, straight away. But it is a process.
Perhaps we could look at one industry, the construction industry, and I'm sure some of you have experience or whether it's the environment aspect or look into other codes that would incorporate sustainability principles. Specifically, concrete has a high carbon factor. That's sort of one element that's perhaps challenging in that industry. Have you gone through any experiences where, on the contrary, sustainability was able to be integrated in the construction industry and actually improved performances, improved productivity, and helped businesses grow further? I think that's what people want to see there's that fear of, why am I incorporating these principles, the sustainability, if there are costs incurred, but over the long run, what are the benefits? So from the construction industry, what have there been any positive outcomes there?
قطاع البناء يعتبر من القطاعات الرئيسية في إمارة أبو ظبي، خاصة في موضوع التنمية وزيارة عدد السكان والتنمية الاجتماعية والعمرانية. طبعا قطاع البناء يشمل على مثل ما ذكرت أخوي محمد موضوع اللي هي دورة الحياة لقطاع البناء. تشمل من بداية تصميم المبنى إلى أن يكون فيها تكون نفاية أو يروح الموقع النفايات. طبعا من ناحية التصميم بذلت الحكومة كثير من إصدار كثير من السياسات والمعايير، وكان آخرها اللي هو موضوع استدامة كود البناء اللي صادر عن دارشو البلدية، واستدامة اللي صادرة عن مجلس أبو ظبي التخطيط العمراني. هذه كلها أهداف الرئيسية اللي تتبنى استقطاب ودخول كثير من المواد اللي تعتبر صديقة للبيئة، قليلة الاستهلاك، ممكن تعمر أكثر، تحتاج أنك تقلل نفاياتك بشكل كبير. قطاع بناء مبني على أماكن العمل اللي هم الريسورسز أو اللي هم العمال أو الموظفين في قطاع البناء. العمال لابد لأنهم هم المنتجين في أولا وأخيرا اللي بينتجون في موضوع القطاع البناء. العمال لابد من توفر لهم بيئة وأماكن عمل مناسبة وصحية وسليمة لتضمن عملية زيادة الإنتاجية وجودة الإنتاج وتقليل الإصابات وتقليل الحوادث، مما بعد يقلل أكثر على التكاليف العلاجية على الحكومة. من ناحية نفايات الهدم والبناء، حاليا موجود في مركز النفايات استغلال كبير لنفايات الهدم والبناء، في موقع موجود لإعادة تدويره وإعادة استخدامه في تعبيد الطرق، ويعتبر مادة من مواد البناء بعد اعتمادها كمواصفة من مجلس المطابقة المواصفات.
Great. John, you come from a sort of perhaps similar industry. Any comments there?
Sorry, it's a little hard to hear sometimes, but I think you asked about concrete as a material. You know, looking at it from a durability standpoint, I do think it's important to find the balance of, I guess, in terms of resiliency. You look at robust as one of the qualities of resiliency. You know, concrete has a proven history, thousands of years of it being around, and we want to foster innovation. We want to foster technology. We want to foster sustainability. And I have seen some of the challenges in the US and the failures, quite frankly, have been when we rushed towards sustainability, toward things that were easy changes that appeared to be easy wins that were not durable, like concrete, that did not stand the test of time and ended up being replaced wholesale with another sustainable product. And at the end, when you reflect back, it wasn't sustainable, it wasn't valuable, it wasn't durable, and it wasn't concrete.
I see. Interesting. Unfortunately, we are running short on time, but if I can just give them the guests one more question, and it's looking at the impact of these issues on the public and customer satisfaction. I think that's sort of the bottom line there. We've got about, yes, please, a few seconds, perhaps from each on.
Thank you. It's about how sustainability can help in new markets. Coming from a survey that conducted by McKinsey, that green technology market is currently at $670 billion US, expected to reach 1.6 trillion by 2020. Now, new markets can be created in the developing countries, and these are the direct beneficiaries of the sustainability concept. World Resource Institute estimates that the people at the bottom of the pyramid constitute a global market of over $5 trillion. So sustainability will help reach greater markets and develop new ones by introducing innovative green technologies, as we mentioned before. These will help reduce costs and improve supply chains, also in reducing per capita utility requirements in the gas and water. But about following the standards and specs and how this helps with the market, with the consumers, following sustainability has added value to in terms of appealing to the customers and building the trust, especially when you have a socially and environmentally responsible company. This helps in the brand imaging. It also produces a safe and a product of quality that appeals to the consumer. So it helps the entity in being recognized as a leader in this industry. We have a good example with Nike, who have considered sustainability in their supply chain management and have percolated these values even to their suppliers of raw material. Now, this has created a mechanism or a matrix of satisfied customers that has shown in their market figures. Yeah.
Thank you. Lillian, perhaps in 30 seconds, I think that's all we've got for the panel on consumer satisfaction. And
Yeah, well, if you can allow me, the quality infrastructure eventually helps to improve the quality of life of the consumer. Now, in today's world, consumers are being more informed. They are making their decisions based on the information they are having. So, and most of the consumers are making ethical decisions to deal with industries and manufacturers who are taking ethical practice and sustainability and basically when related to environment and social impact into consideration. So ensuring a better quality of life when consumer believe in that the industry helps a better life or a better quality of life, they will be working with these manufacturers and industry, and of course that will help to sustain the industries.
great. 20 seconds, I think. Yes.
Yes, I mean now customers and consumers have a lot of power, so you cannot not communicate in the best way you can all the sustainability efforts that you're doing, and added to that, and at the session yesterday we talked about it. Social media, because not only do they have the power of choosing between one brand to the other, but they talk about it themselves. And a small issue or small doubt can become something quite big and can really damage the reputation of the company. So yes, I think engaging consumers and customers is key.
Thank you very much. I think that's the end of today's discussion. We'd love to get more questions from the floor. Do we have? Yes, sir. Maybe 2 questions. Please. Do we have a microphone? Or just please stand up and... But very brief, please.
Slim Saidi from University of Wollongong. Just wanted to comment on sustainability in general and the idea of value chain. A chain is as weak or as strong as the weakest link or the strongest link, or, well, not necessarily the strongest link. So how do you ensure that you cascade the priority of sustainability with the 3 Ps that you talked about, people, profit, and planet, balanced in a certain way across the entire value chain? And how do you ensure that in tough times, this is where actually the P for profit comes in and becomes actually only priority, if not the highest priority. How do you ensure that it's always kept balanced? Thank you.
Would you like to comment on the 3 Ps? I think we've touched upon it through sort of different angles. Please.
We have indeed. I just want to add that the top-down approach is important here. We need to apply the standards and provide the policies for sustainability to ensure that different grassroots levels actually function properly, such as procurement and contracts and what have you, and carry them forward and implement them. So top-down approach is the key for actually reaching this desired outcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Yeah. Well, yes, sir, in the back. If you could kindly stand up so they can see where you are. Yes. There. And that will be our last question, unless the organizers are...
My name is Mohammed Hashmi. I'm from Higher College of Technologies. My question is for Dr. Jaber. About what's the target of reducing the environmental impact for the industries by 2030?
شكرا على السؤال، بس السؤال إجابته يمكن تأخذ كثير من الوقت.
10 seconds.
هي إذا لاحظت رؤية أبو ظبي البيئة 2030 تحتوي على أولويات استراتيجية وبرامج عمل وأنشطة، وتنعكس هذه الأنشطة مو بس على هيئة البيئة، لكن كل قطاع عنده برامج وأنشطة متخصصة فيه. إذا تم تطبيقها بشكل متوازي بنحقق الأهداف اللي ترجوها الحكومة من ناحية تحقيق أهداف رؤية أبو ظبي البيئية 2030. فهي عبارة عن برامج مرصود لها مبالغ معينة، ميزانيات محددة. إذا تم تطبيقها بشكل متوازي من جميع القطاعات الصناعية والاقتصادية وكل القطاعات المعنية في مرت أبو ظبي، بنحقق الأهداف المرجوة إن شاء الله.
Shukran. Yeah, I think I want to say thank you very much for our guest speakers for sharing their experience and insights on sustainability, and thank you all for being with us here today. Thank you.